Cars pouring out for the pre-qualifying session. 90 minutes of action here at the circuit Catalunya, just to the north of Barcelona. This is the fifth and final round of the Blancpain Endurance Series for 2018. We had the Sprint Series settled at Nürburgring 2 weeks ago. This weekend, of course, we can settle the Blancpain Cup, Endurance Cup events and the overall titles. 12 titles to play for. 2 have been settled of the 14 that we could settle here, already sorted out. But for me, Bruce Jones and John Watson, as we look at the cars going out around the circuit, 53 cars coming out to play. It's super close on the points, though. Look, Raffaele Marciello in the Endurance Cup, only 1 point advantage over Mario Engel, Lucas Stoltz, Jelmer Berman, and unbelievably, there are 14 crews who can challenge Raffaele Marciello for the overall title at this final stage in the season. Extraordinary.
It would be even more extraordinary if those 14 crews could fill the front 7 rows of the grid and just go at it. You know, proper racing, but inevitably they will be mixed all the way through this 53 car field. And of course, one of the difficulties, I highlighted it this morning, is overtaking here in Barcelona is not easy. And it is imperative to qualify within certainly the front 6 rows. Anything less than that, you will get bogged down in a myriad of traffic that normally may not necessarily be in your race, but is going to be somewhere on the racetrack where you don't want them to be.
Now, very much an outside hope for the title. Dries van Toor's chance really. Well, he's 11 points down. He set the fastest time this morning by dint of having the garage closest to pit exit. He is again the first driver out to go and set a flying lap. But this is pre-qualifying. We had free practice this morning. Qualifying itself is tomorrow morning. It's going to be very, very quick fire, but just simply making space. And another factor here, John, tyres. They seem to be good for 1, maybe 2 flying laps, and then they plateau.
Yes, I mean, that's always been the case at any racetrack, but here again, very much highlighted with the 16-turn Barcelona racetrack. Again, comparing to where we were this morning, ambient temperature 9 o'clock this morning was around 17 Celsius, track temperature 21 Celsius. Now ambient temperature up to 27, 10 degrees warmer, and more critically track temperature up by a further 12 degrees. It's an entirely new racetrack, has got nothing whatsoever to do with what the drivers confronted with when they went out at 9 o'clock this morning. And we were looking down through timing and scoring and noting how many of the fastest laps set by all the competitors were set probably within their first 2 or 3 or 4, maybe 5 in some cases, laps. Thereafter, they never managed to improve.
Yeah, and another thing worth throwing into that occasion as Dries van Toor comes down to turns 14 and 15. He set the 2 fastest set to time, so it's Alex Riberas, I beg your pardon, in the number 1 car. It said Van Toor when it left the pits on the windscreen, but certainly that crew looking very, very strong indeed. Let's see what lap time. 1 minute 44.203 was the best this morning. 140, he's half a second down. 144.728. Clear track though, that's a rare occurrence.
Yes, clear track. A good effort by Alex Riberas. First flying lap, he had the benefit of a clear track now coming into traffic. So considering the difference in track temperature, the difference in ambient temperature, and compare that with what Dries van Toor, to be within half a second approximately on your first flying lap, with not Dries van Toor behind the wheel but Alex Riberas. Dries van Toor right now is evolving, developing into being an outstandingly quick and outstandingly good race driver, and probably of all 3 drivers in the car is in single lap terms the quickest. But you've got Christopher Mies in that car as well. Christopher Mies is a all-time great Audi competitor, especially when it comes to a race.
Absolutely so. They're 4th in the Endurance Cup drivers ranking. Raffaele Marciello at the top of that table, but by only 1 point. It's worth reiterating. Marciello and his teammate Michael Meadows wrapped up the Sprint Cup title for pro drivers at the Nürburgring. There is the 88 Mercedes in the thick of traffic. That's going to help nobody, and it's Raffaele on board. He was the only driver in this morning's session who set a time late in the session, but he's come here to Spain with the possibility of adding the Endurance Cup title and the overall title. No driver's ever done that in Blancpain before, so it's a massive accolade. He's going well, but traffic has already clearly compromised this lap.
Yes, it has, but he's still got, of course, it's his first flying lap. He's got personal bests on each of those 2 sectors now into the finals. Stayed back out of it. He's decided not to continue on. I don't know whether that was because he felt it wasn't worth it, or whether he wants to make a quick visit into the pit lane. I think he decided certainly to bail out of that lap, and I think he's coming into the pit lane indeed.
Yeah, because he hadn't made enough space ahead of him. There were cars coming up behind, so he was going to have to step on it. So he's not alone here entering the pit lane. The number 17 Audi drives in as well. That's been shared this weekend. Sheldon van der Linde, Stuart Leonard, last year's sprint champion, and Robin Frieds. Looking at the timesheets this morning, we had these 2 red flag periods, and they interrupted some of the very fastest running early in the session, so we didn't get the full roll of the dice, I don't think, in terms of a lot of the faster runners didn't put in a lap time.
Your driver who just put in a very good lap is Jake Dennis in the 76R Motorsport Aston Martin. Pops up second quickest, still 0.8 of a second away from the number 1 Audi's time, but indications that they are Motorsport, who have really been an impressive entry into the Blancpain Endurance Championship this year, back at the front where they've pretty much been more or less, certainly throughout all the qualifying and practice sessions, as well as winning at Silverstone.
Exactly. Silverstone was the second round, and so far we had victory in the opening round to Audi. That was Mies, Riberas and Van Tor. That's the car we've seen at the front of the field, setting the best time in this session. Second race, Silverstone, the R Motorsport Aston Martin crew, Jake Dennis, Nicky Team and Mathieu Vassivière. There is Nicky Team, name on the screen there, lapping, bouncing over the curve. The sister car had a problem this morning, didn't set a flying lap. It came in at the end of its opening lap, didn't even get into the pit lane proper, and needed repairs. So a game of catch-up.
So Jake Dennis trying to find a way, as we can look at down into, that's the Parker Bentley putting us. There is Jake Dennis in the 76. Also, great run. I was going to say Matt Parry had been up to 4th place, but in fact now it's the 11. The Broniszewski, Alessandro Pierguidi Ferrari, the Pro-Am Ferrari, that's gone second quickest. Jake Dennis third. The 888 Ferrari, that's the second of the Pro-Ams. And that car, so I beg about the Audi Car Collection Motorsport, Frank Stickler, is one of the drivers in that car, and he is 5th quickest, so 2 of the Pro-Am cars in the top 5.
Yeah, we've come to this morning. Pierre Guidi put him in a car. He's very, very quick. Now up into second place is 82, which is from Pereira. He's one of the 3 Grasser Racing Lamborghinis. Good to see the 51 Ferrari back out on the circuit. That didn't complete a flying lap this morning. Paul Duncan Cameron put it off on the exit of turn 16. That caused one of the red flag periods, and it's a real game of catch-up. But the good thing is that run yesterday, and Andrea Bertolini was fastest of all in the bronze test, so they have got some mileage, but they lost about an hour and a quarter of their running this morning, and it's impossible to make that up again.
But I think the thing that's critical about that loss of time this morning is that tomorrow morning at identical time, 9 a.m, this track will be open for qualification, and team would like to have had the information that they would have gleaned from running in the ambient and the track temperature, which, as I pointed out a few minutes ago, was a lot cooler than it is right now. And it is such a temperature sensitive and tire sensitive racetrack. The loss of that information is a massive loss to the 51 Ferrari.
Well, Matt Griffin trying his best to get past Rick Hume. Rick having nothing of it in his bright green Rinaldi Racing Ferrari, and Matt going all the classical signals, flashing his headlights, putting his indicator on. He's just going to have to force the issue and go down, not being allowed a way through. This is practice, it's or pre-qualifying, but you need to get a clear lap, and particularly if you've lost a morning session, you are playing catch-up. What's he better to do, John?
Well, he's just got to be patient. There's no way really around a car at this part of the circuit through 7 and 8. Up the hill into 9 again, not really going to make it there. Best chance down the hill into turn 10 under brakes. He's close enough to the rear of the Ferrari that when he gets down there, you can see almost alongside. That's where he wants to be, on the inside. He can now take control of the braking zone into turn 10. A clean, well-executed overtake by Matt Griffin.
Yeah, we had to hunt it for about 5 corners already. We've got black and white warning flags for certain cars. Car number 98, that's one of the Rover Racing BMWs. Nicky Katzberg, Jens Klingman, Tom Blomqvist. This is one of the championship challengers. Black and white warning flag for disrespecting track limits. They're going to have to watch that. Blomqvist, don't forget, is 3rd in the championship. He and his fellow Spa 24-hour winner, Philippe Eng, have been put into separate BMWs, 98 and 99, to double their chance, the team's chances of having one of them become the Blancpain Endurance Pro driving champion this year.
Another car making a bit of progress. Number 7 Bentley, Gordon Pepper behind the wheel, up into 8th place. So the Bentleys had sort of mixed fortunes at different points of the morning. At some points they were showing stronger than just the circumstance then dropping back, but currently 8th quickest.
That's not
Sister
bad.
car in 13th place.
That's not bad, because of course we saw Jordan Pepper pulling out of the pit lane and coming to a halt on the downhill run to the first corner, so they lost a lot of track time.
Described to me as an electrical problem, as a load of steam came out from the side exhaust, but there we are. It may have been an electrical problem that caused the problem, that caused the problem, that caused the problem.
We'll go along with that, John. Thank you. That's the full technical rundown on what was going on in the number 7 Bentley. I concur with all of that. Now, this McLaren Garage 59 in the AM class, Goodwin, Harris and West, the 2 Chris's and an Alexander, they are second. They're challenging to try and take that title, and likewise their team is challenging, but it's Barwell Motorsport with Amstutz and Mashinsky at the top with their Lamborghini, but that McLaren has been going very well this year.
Yeah, currently in 40th position, Alexander West behind the wheel. In the meantime, Robin Friens in the 17 Audi. Again, we saw a little bit of a juxtaposition between Robin Friens and I think it was one of the sister, was it the Santa Lock? I'm not sure. Anyway, Robin Friens currently 3rd quickest, 0.3 of a second away from the number 1 Audi, and at 1,000th of a second slower than the 82. That's the Grasser Racing Lamborghini, and I mean that is pretty impressive. Frank Pereira, who has planted the Lamborghini up there. But now Jelmer Berman in the 4. Is it Jelmer Berman?
It is Jelmer, but look out for Christopher Haase, 6th fastest. We just mentioned the Santalot Racing team. He's in the 25. Shared this weekend with Ricardo Feller, young Swiss driver, and Simon Gachet. It looks like he's got the potential to vault up. He's got to complete the final sector in that 25 Santalot Racing car. He's 6th. At the moment, he's 0.8 of a second down on the ultimate pace. Don't dive into the pit lane. Let's see how good the lap is. Through the final corner he goes. Where's he going to go? Up into the top position. 1 minute 44.366 of a second. It's still about 0.15 of a second down on the ultimate pace this morning. But Santalot are now the top Audi team. There he is, lights flashing, 001 on the windscreen. Another good job by Christopher Haas.
And what's impressive is that this is being done in these conditions. Running on a fresh set of tyres. I doubt they're brand new, but certainly fresh set of tyres. Clearly they've got the pace. Now, what's important for the team is it's these conditions that you'll be sort of coming 5 o'clock-ish, up to 5 o'clock, coming to the end of the second hour, into the final hour of this 3-hour event on Sunday. These are the conditions that they will be having to contend with. So it will not necessarily about who is quickest overall, because it'll be a different situation on Sunday morning when temperatures are lower, but it's about having your car, the balance of your car, consistent and not losing through degradation or a loss of overall grip, having consistency to enable you to be able to charge when you need to.
Okay, John, put your team manager's hat on. I know it's always on the peg behind your chair. Would you put, if you've already decided your driver rotation for the race, would you put the driver who's going to be out at this time of day out on the track at the moment? Is that too technical?
It's way too technical. This time of the evening, you know, it's almost a sundowner time.
Is it?
Could be. No, I think that you will look at the times that all three drivers, or in some cases only 2 drivers, will cycle through to gain team information and the team choice about who will start, who will do the middle stint and the final stint. Some teams that will already be predetermined.
Now, we get many messages on our screen. We saw fleetingly this 25 Audi go to the top of the charts, back down to 6th because he didn't stay within the track limit, so he's lost that time. So Christopher Haas stays in 6th, and the number 1 Audi, now with Christopher Mies on board, is the top of the charts. But some quick times coming in from Alvaro Parentes, down in 12th place overall in one of the Straka Racing Mercedes. He's sharing with Felipe sorry, he's not. He's in the sister car. Maxi Goertz and Maxi Boot. And get this, Maxi Goertz, Maxi Boot are 15th in the championship, but they still can have a crack at the overall Endurance Drivers' Championship. They've just stayed within enough points. There are 26 points to play for, 25 for the win and 1 for pole position, so they can still overall Raffaele Marciello, but it would take, as you say, pestilence, plague and all sorts of other issues to draw them in the hunt, but never mind, they are still in the hunt and still pushing very hard.
On board with the 14 Lexus.
Parent goes top, 1 minute 44.480 seconds, so really good lap. Not a brilliant opening sector, but his middle sector was brilliant.
That's a very good time indeed. Of course, Alvaro Parent in the Straka Racing Mercedes AMG GT3. Another driver I'm just keeping an eye on, much further down, 15th place, Luca Ludwig. Not the Luca bit. Where does that come from? The Ludwig bit. Well, you think of Klaus Ludwig. I saw him this morning, and there was something I thought, It's the hair.
The same
it's the
cut.
hair. Father and son have got identical hair. Whether it's a cologne or whether it's just in the genes, well, it is Luca Ludwig is a cologne for his dad.
He really is, and he's been going very well with HB Racing with their Ferrari for this year and for last, and they've entered the championship this weekend with a 777 Ferrari, which is Jens Liebhauser, the fellow German, and another German, Florian Scholz, but Luca is the star in that car. But at the moment it's not featuring, it's in 15th place.
15th place, yeah.
I was going to say this lap it's not featuring, he's backed off his first sector. In fact, he's just come out of the pits, that's why it's a slow sector. 43 on our screen is the car at the top of the charts. Alvaro Parentu, just put him in a GT car, any GT car anywhere in the world, he's going to be at the sharp end of the field. A lot of racing in the Pirelli World Challenge in recent years. He must have even more air miles than you, John.
Well, I tell you what, I hope he's getting business class travel at least, because the amount of transatlantic travel that some of these drivers are involved with, going backwards and forwards to the various championships, you need to have the benefit of having a flat bed, lay down, get some rest, get some sleep.
Well, one of the sister cars bouncing down the inside, that's the 44 Straka Racing Mercedes. Felipe Fraga, Christian Fittoris and Oliver Rowland.
Wasn't a lot of space between the Mercedes and the Audi just coming into the braking zone, but this car is on a quick run, currently in third place.
Yeah, that was Christian Fittoris. Let's look at the replay.
Just watch again as he comes up, gets alongside the Audi, just natural, more pace. He then has to take a little bit of a lunge down the inside, but there you just see how close he comes across as the Audi is beginning to make its cut into the corner. Nothing wrong, but just it was actually a moment when the two cars could have had contact.
Yeah, you can see that Fittoris didn't want to cross the pit merge line as the pit lane exit, particularly there's a car coming down there, so he really was limited in choice, and now Fittoris is right on the tail of one of the Lamborghinis there from Grasser Racing. The Mercedes look very strong here at the moment.
Still Phil Keane, you think, behind the wheel of the 82, getting a little bit of the headlight treatment from the Mercedes to come down into turn 10. No opportunity. Justin Dean just keeps his position, as he's fully entitled to do. He's not required. Now the Mercedes has backed off, smartly thinking no point in continuing because this car is on its own run, it's doing its own thing. So I back out of it, give myself a bit of space, be aware that the Audi that I sort of almost side-slapped coming into turn 1 is all over the back of my car. I don't want to impede him in his lap, so now it's a question of getting on with the programme, and we cut back down to the exit of turn 9, top of screen, and then downhill drop into turn 10.
All tidy, still top of the charts is the 43 Mercedes, number 1 Audi in, very good time on the screen for Tom Onslow Cole, up into the top 10. He's one of three driver combinations where they only have 2 drivers. He's sharing with Raymond Vos. They lost time this morning, very unusual accident, and the Dutch driver went off backwards at turn 7. We didn't see the start of the incident, but it's not a corner on the circuit where we normally see cars going off, but Onslow Cole really delivering.
Yeah, that's a strong run from Tom Onslow Cole.
It's the Ram Racing Mercedes we're talking about there.
That is the lead Pro-Am cars, the 72, the Davide Rigon Ferrari, which is always Miguel Achelin and Miguel Molina
at the wheel at the moment, providing they've got the right transponder, going past one of the Rinaldi Racing Ferraris that doesn't really want to let him through.
Who's in the top 10?
It's a Porsche, John.
It's the 911 Porsche, John. Dirk Werner behind the wheel. First time this weekend that we've only seen it this morning because they didn't run yesterday. So up into top 10 for the moment.
And who needs sponsorship? The car in front of it might do, but that's the Raymond Vos car we've just been talking about with Tom Onslow Cole at the wheel. Metallic red, an unusual colour scheme. That is, but in the bright light, that Ram Racing car looks good.
That you can have that colour when you go to a Mercedes dealer. You can have it in any of the range of Mercedes, but it costs. It's extra. It's a very special colour. Looks great. I mean, it is a stunning looking colour.
So what does it say on the order chart? Say Raymond Vos metallic red?
I'm not sure. It might be some BZ red. It's a sort of it's a kind of metallic, but it's just an unusual colour. But it is. It's not just the standard colours. Then there's the extras, and then there's the extra. I think I might be corrected, but it has that look about it.
Now you know what John Watson does between races. He looks at colour charts for all the manufacturers. You know your Porsche colours best of all. Car number 24 has had a spin and rejoined at turn 14. That's the downhill entry to the chicane. So they've got that out of the way. That's the Reiter Young Stars. That's the Mad Silja, Lenny Marionette, Patrick Niederhauser. Lamborghini, not a Huracan though, but the Gallardo, the older model. But they go pretty well in that car, it must be said, for Writer Young Stars. But going backwards, obviously not what the doctor ordered. It's still the 43 Mercedes at the top of the chart from the number 1 Audi. The 44 Mercedes showing just how strong Stracker is with 2 of the top 3 cars. And then another Mercedes, the 88 car with Raffaele Marciello, the driver hunting down a treble championship. He is in 4th. Daniel Kalvitz, driver who really absolutely goes very, very well indeed whenever he gets his tail end into a Ferrari. He's racing for Rinaldi, racing with Alexander Matschel and Rinat Salikov, and his teammates are going to rely on him this weekend because they are placed as an outside chance in the Pro-Am class. They're 3rd overall and picking up the pace in Kalvitz's hands.
An interesting little stat, if you want to call it that. There will be tears on Sunday afternoon.
I hope not.
Because the Silver Cup, the number 54 Emil Frey Jaguar Racing, this will be its last event in the Blancpain Endurance competition.
It's been such a stalwart car.
The 5-year program will finally come to an end on Sunday afternoon.
Okay, John, 54. Where is it on the charts? Michael Grenier, 23rd overall, still in the ballpark, just under 1.5 seconds down on the ultimate pace. But it's a car that always races better than it qualifies, and certainly has been a wonderful contributor to the championship.
Indeed, and the Emil Frey racing team will have sort of mixed emotions because they've developed this car and brought it to the point where it was capable of winning. And now they've moved on with the Lexus program, which of course is the future for the Emil Frey racing operation out of Switzerland. As we go back to the number 8 Bentley, which is currently still indicated by Vincent Abril. It is in 7th position.
Well, Bentley, like Lexus, has taken a win this year. They took the 6-hour race at Paul Ricard, Costa, Clean and Seafried. Bentley still hunting a win. Brand new cars this weekend alone, and some of the cars they've had before have been shipped off to the United States and off to Asia, just showing the global spread of GT3 racing, and we'll give you some more facts on those tomorrow. Brand new car, and Avril looked very handy this morning.
Well, I think part of the reason for this is that within the rules and regulations governing Blancpain Sprint and Endurance, if you bring out an Evolution model, oh, look at the 90 Mercedes all over the shop coming out of turn 12. But to go back to the Bentley, you are required to produce a minimum of 20 identical units to technically qualify to compete in the Blancpain Sprint and Endurance Championship. So it is no wonder that Bentley, and there will be other manufacturers that have got a limit. Nissan, for example, with the Gen 2 Nissan GTR, they also need to get minimum 20 production units a year before that would then fully entitle them to take part.
Well, great replay there of the 90 Mercedes Acura ASP, shared by Jules Simkowiak, Jack Manchester and Nico Bastian, having a really, really wild ride over the curves, but luckily not beyond. Who's making the moves at the top? We're getting some increasingly good times, 5th at the moment, but Phil Keane just coming to the pits in the first part of his lap. Looks so it's going to move him up ahead of some of those Mercedes and the number 1 Audi. Not to be, he's reported the pits. The 777 car, this is the HB Racing Ferrari. We mentioned Luca Ludwig. This is the less well-known Jens Liebhauser. Had a little spin from that this morning, but no damage done at all. So the HB Racing Ferrari pressing on, trying to pick its way up the order. And at the moment, Liebhauser, the car is in the car. The car is 24th fastest. That was Ludwig's time at the start of the session. But with so many of these teams, the cars coming in and out of the pits, having to change between their drivers. 50 of the crews are running a 3-driver lineup, and 3 of them are sticking just with 2. So a little less frenetic for them in the pits. But right now, if you're HB Racing, it's about getting Jens Liebhauser to have experience of the car and of the circuit.
And I think almost as a mirror of what we had this morning, the initial run of all the field on the rubber that they started this session on has begun to flatten out. We're not seeing any significant times, certainly nothing that's going to challenge the current fastest lap. Alvaro Perez 144.480. The only person who's made an improvement in the top 10 is the 35 Mercedes of Denis Militov, up into that 10th position on a 145.4, just 9 tenths. Oh, big shunt now. Who's gone off? Coming again, final turn 16. just below the commentary booth. And
It's Jens Liebhauser. We just saw his car, and he just did the classical error, just not getting enough turn into the Ferraris. He came through turn 16. We saw early this morning number 51 Duncan Cameron going off just there, but it was he didn't seem to hit anything. But I'm just looking at his wheel marks. He got within half a car width of the tyre wall, just where the gravel area starts funneling down towards the exit.
Fortunately for the 777 Ferrari, he kept it off the wall. In the case of the 51, it sort of went in, a bit of a tank slapper, and then wasn't much that Duncan Cameron could do to keep the car from making contact with the tyre barrier. But this car, the 777, looks to be okay.
It may well be the driver will bring that in. Just talking, there's another team running the Bentleys, Team Parker Racing, and they've got a good lineup this weekend. They've got Derek Pearce, of course, Rob Smith, and Seb Morris, who most likely is the fastest of all of them, and they're setting greens on the screen. They're down in Seb Morris at the wheel at the moment, British GT champion from years past, down in 39th position, has got traffic in front of him. That will certainly hamper him. Mind you, it's one of the Lexuses. They are quick, but he's sticking on its tail, sweeping around to complete the lap. I'm sure he'll move up from 39th position, just waiting for him to cross the line.
Yes, there's an improvement in time, and looking to see he's up to 31st. So, good job by Seb Morris, picks up 8 positions on that lap, in spite of being behind Albert Costa in the Lexus coming down into turn 1.
But I've lost him completely from my vision. MOR for Morris. Oh yeah, 29th he went up to. He's in car 31, yeah. That's why I lost him. But yes, he gained a second or so. So getting into the mix for Team Parker Racing.
Let's have a look. Oh, he got a little bit of back end loss of grip coming into turn 16. Goes through 180, and actually, well, he must have said something correct this morning, because I think he managed to avoid. He couldn't have been any closer to sideswiping the barrier than that and get away with it. I think he got away with it.
Well, so it seems that it doesn't look as though the marks are close enough. Haven't seen so much of the Aston Martins. This is a 62 car that was in trouble this morning. Didn't do a flying lap. It pulled to a halt before one was on the board. It's down in the hands of Maxime Martin in 22nd position, 1.2 seconds off pace. But Maxime, who moved across to be moved from BMW to Aston Martin this year, has been going well, but he's now stuck in the middle of the traffic, stuck 1.2 seconds off the ultimate pace, and this traffic isn't helping him. We're not seeing any lap improvements from him, but what he does want is track time at the moment. They lost it this morning. They lost all but the first minute of the session. I mean, so now it's essential.
Being a two-car team, obviously they can overlap the time from the 76ers. Maxime Martin dives into the pit, so they've got that benefit, but of course it doesn't substitute for having all 3 drivers get experience of the track, which they will have to then go out onto, in effect, cold, when the track will also be much cooler than it is presently tomorrow morning. And up at turn 9, is that the Lamborghini Gallardo?
No, it's one of the Barwell Lamborghinis, it's one of the Hurricanes, it's the one with the blue.
It is.
Car 28, sorry, it's Daiko Lazarus, that's Arno Santamoto, who's sharing with Toby Sari, a late change in the driver running. In fact, that's why we've got a 4th crew now.
And it looks like it's not going to get out of there without assistance, so will this be... We saw a number of 2 red flags this morning, and Marshall's running to that car to try and assist, but I think it will take more than they... Well, they're trying to help them, but it's not a great place to have those 2 marshals so close to the edge of the racetrack. It is a yellow flag.
Just watching the screens. 991 had a spin at turn 16 and got away with it. That we didn't catch on screen, but on the timing screens it's come up. Sansalot Racing, Neil Stephenard, already crowned a champion this year.
4,
Pro-Am Championship, has won the driver's title along with Marcus Winkelhoff. And for the young French driver, just another chance to build on that. But as you can see, the driver's now running around at full course yellow speed, i.e. much reduced and standardised speed.
Yes.
And for all of them, they'll bring it back into the pit lane. In fact, I would suggest all of them will, as the 28 Daiko Lazarus Racing Lamborghini will be removed. Arno Santamoto sharing that with Toby Sari, a French driver and a British driver, but whichever one is at the wheel, they're in the gravel.
So there is the recovery vehicle. It'll get the old strap is already attached. Just watch and see. Oh, there it's backwards even before it got to the apex. So lost it on the entry into turn 9. It was nothing more than a passenger until it came safely to a stop in the gravel. But the snatch vehicle is there. The tie straps are being attached, and that will be quickly removed, and hopefully we'll get back safely to the pits when if they get most of the gravel out of the car before it gets back on the racetrack, and we don't get the racetrack deposits of all that gravel. So full course yellow, everybody travelling around at 50 kilometers per hour and just having to be patient. Some will have chosen to go back into the pit lane. So there is a little access road around the perimeter of the barrier that we can see, that tire barrier on the outside of turn number 9. It is a great corner, Bruce. You know, you come up the hill, it's a blind apex, and it's a corner with an about commitment. And if you're uncertain, if you're unhappy with them, particularly the rear of the car, if it's unstable, a bit snappy, you will never ever get a satisfactory result through turn 9.
No, a corner like that can only magnify any handling problems you've got with the car. It just doesn't want to do what it's supposed to do. And there for Toby, we don't know actually. I have to go to the next screen to find out if it was Arno Santomoto or Toby Sowery. But either way, that 28 Lamborghini down in the tail handful of cars in the bottom dozen or so, and certainly wouldn't be improving like that. So turn 9 has claimed it, and just looking at the Jaguar going down the slope, coming back in ahead of one of the Stracker Racing Mercedes. Mercedes looking very strong at the moment. On current form here at the Circuit de Catalunya, large number of cars still not coming into the pits. They're electing to stay out and hope that as soon as it goes green again, they'll get quite a nice clear lap as others scramble their way back out of the pits, but they can't judge how long it's going to take. And now we've got red flag.
Yeah, so obviously there's a reason why they're having difficulty getting the Lamborghini removed, and it's been felt that in the interests of safety, let everybody get and work. There's something happening that they're working at the back of the car, and I can't quite understand what it is. Whether it's got locked in gear, which it may well have done as the car went backwards, so the rear wheels aren't rotating. So that might be one thought as to why the track marshals are working around the back of the car.
Certainly working away. We can just about make them out, but they're behind a tree from our commentary position and look into the distance. So all the other runners who are just going to hopefully stay on the circuit have decided they are working their way into the pit lane. So at the moment the top 4 positions are Mercedes, the number 1 Audi, and Mercedes first, second, and first, third, and fourth. And now that Lamborghini is hooked up, and it shouldn't take too long to get it back out of the gravel up at the top of the hill in turn 9. Just looking of the championship challenges, our overall leader in the Blancpain Endurance Cup. Let's just deal with that rather than the overall GT Series. It's Raffaele Marciello's car in 4th place overall. Berman, Engel and Stoltz in the number 4. Mercedes second in the championship, just 1 point behind, but they're only down in 8th. That's not too far down. But Blomqvist and Eng, who are third on points after their victories together in the Volkenhorst BMW and the Spa 24 Hours, looking for 98. 99 is in 23rd position, 98 is in 26th. So work to do in the BMW camp. They said before coming here, this is a track that doesn't suit the M6.
That's what they've said, but of course every racetrack is a challenge, and you know, if you come here with a negative approach, then are you ever going to get the car dialed in? So you've got to come here and have a positive view about it and accept that the conditions. The Spa 24 was a circuit that was almost a dream circuit for the BMWs. For other teams, it wasn't quite the case. As we watch the 2 Bentleys, just how tightly packed. Now, can you imagine what it's going to be like in the pit lane if you get about 40 cars all coming in at the end of the first hour at the same time? They're going to have to park somehow or other. I don't know how they're going to manage. I think you've got to go to your neighbours on either side and say, like, we're thinking of doing this. You know, can we work together and try and not trip over one another?
Yeah, and certainly most teams will stagger their drivers, one in one lap, one in the next. So the last few cars, including one of the 2 Nissans, coming in to pit entry. Still looking for that number 28 Daiko Lazarus Lamborghini to be removed from from the gravel at the top of the hill at turn 9. And in fact, now, as I say that, from behind a tree, the Lamborghini is back driving again. Let's take a look. This is an onboard lap with the number 1 Audi, second in the time charts. Dries van Tor set the fastest time this morning, and it's still right at the front, sharp end. This morning it was first, this afternoon it's second fastest. John, talk us through this, down to turn 1.
Down to turn 1, you've just got to make your apex then. There's a quick change of direction from turn 1 to turn 2. Careful on the curve on the outside, because you want to be in the middle of the road to make your initial approach and entry into turn 3. You make your apex early, run all the way wide out to the outside of the corner. You complete the corner there, the red and white curving, and you stay on the left and on the brakes. So it's an early entry into turn 4, let the car go out, and then again you sort of, it's an early apex and not really forgetting about the rest of it. Now this bogey corner, turn 5, always hard to get the nose of the car to turn in there. It's just the layout of the racetrack, flat out through turn 6, not even a curve. Then on the brakes, and here again the adverse camber draws you over to the right of the racetrack. Then you have to snap it back again, climb up the hill into turn 9. Here is where there's commitment, and there's no lack of commitment from Dries van Thor as he goes through turn 9. The car ahead of him running wide and picking up the gravel on the exit of the corner. Then on the brakes, hard on the brake into turn 10. It's all about being relatively neat, clean and tidy through 11. Then the switch back to 12, a corner that tends to go on, and again a bogey corner. If you've got any understeer in your car, that's the corner that's going to exemplify it. Then finally into this rather, I find it clumsy part of the racetrack, 11, 12, 13, 14, then finally out, and then the final turn onto, this is a good corner, it used to be a brilliant corner, and that's the lap complete from Dries van Thor, who had the fastest time this morning at 1:44.203. And that's yet to be eclipsed by anybody this afternoon. We're with a 1:44.480, so 0.2 of a second.
Well, cars going back onto the track, and it's time to hear from the number 4 Mercedes crew, because Dakota has gone down the pits and caught up with Jelmer Berman.
Jelmer, now tell me, how's it all going?
Yeah, not too bad. Just did a couple of laps earlier on. Car feels really good. Obviously, will be tomorrow morning will be a different situation. Well, the qualifying being at 9 o'clock. Our car just leaving the pit lane. With the qualifying being at 9 o'clock, it's different conditions. It will probably be quite a bit cooler, fresher air. So this will influence the car, the balance quite a bit. But yeah, we hope that we anticipate the right way, and it should not be too bad.
Now you're second in the Endurance Championship. It's going to be a really tough weekend, but you've got a lot of other strong competitors. You've got a good driver lineup. How are you feeling about everything?
Yeah, it's going to be a long day tomorrow. I mean, first of all, qualifying, here last year we struggled a lot because a lot of people slow down in the final chicane to open up a gap. But if you then arrive on your hot lap and you have to slow down, it's very frustrating, obviously. And it was very hard to get a clear lap. So that's the number 1 priority, to qualify well. And obviously then it's a long race, 3 hours, quite a long way to go. And a lot can happen. We've seen it in the past, and even at the Nürburgring it was a great battle for the sprint championship. So hopefully we'll have a great battle here as well, and yeah, let's see if we can jump that 1 spot in the championship.
Looking forward to it. Good luck.
Thanks very much, Dakota. Jelmer Berman telling it as it is and highlighting something that I'd forgotten. Cars backing each other up into the chicane to make themselves space for their qualifying lap last year. I think that'll be fairly frowned upon this year, but it will be happening. 53 cars, not a lot of space.
Hey, Bruce, it's inevitable it's going to happen, because for the simple reason is that the first flying lap that you will have on the best of the tires that you're going to use for qualifying is going to be your quickest lap. So therefore, there's no point coming into the chicane right up the rear wing of another car and losing your momentum. So that's what you're going to see. You're going to see stacking all the way around the racetrack, and it's frustrating for the drivers that are either on a flying lap to come up against a group of cars that are stacking. Look, it's frustrating for us in the commentary booth to have to talk about it. And you see what's happening. Everybody knows what's going to happen. But the field of 53 cars, it's inevitable it's going to happen.
Yeah, you try and put your cars on the track in a situation where that may not happen, but all it takes is one little incident and suddenly the field bunches up, and then you get that concertina effect, and it really, really is a nightmare for the drivers and the team managers. But it's all about getting that pure lap in, and it must be said, in a field this close, a little slice of luck really is required. Any number of incidents can just hamper your lap around the circuit here almost more than most places.
Absolutely, but the thing I think, the top teams, the teams that are most likely to be vying for pole position, I'm assuming if they've got a half a brain in their head, they're going to get their driver car pairings down to the front of the pit lane exit the earliest opportunity to gain the advantage of being on a track, because by the time you go on to your first flying lap, hopefully the track will not be as busy as it might be in a few minutes after that. And that's the first flying lap for everybody. They know that if they don't get it done on that first flying lap here at Barcelona, that it will be extremely difficult to see any significant improvement, let alone challenge for a pole or a front row grid position.
No, exactly so. Just spotted on the screen the car that's top of the time charts, Maxi Boot at the wheel at the moment, under investigation. Team manager to race control to the stewards at the end of the session for full course yellow procedure violation. We had the full course yellow obviously while the Lamborghini number 28 was extracted from, or while it was sitting in the gravel at the exit of turn 9, and a chance for the stewards to flex their muscles. Their drivers have to stay fully focused.
Yes, and as is ever, the regulations are now being more strictly adhered to. This season particularly, we're seeing a lot less leniency being given, and personally I have to say, while it might be frustrating for those drivers that are being brought into the stewards and told of their particular offences, it's the way that, it's the only way. If drivers haven't got the ability to self-discipline, then you have to impose a discipline. You know, that's the Nissan, is that the 22 or the 23 that's stuck just coming out of turn 5 on the left-hand side of the racetrack?
Well, it's out of the way. The flag marshal's doing their bit, indicating the car is sitting there. Very frustrating. And normally if you stop on a downhill section, that means you probably had something fail before you got to turn 5. And
the 23 is out on track. I can't see if the 22 is. 23 is currently 30th.
Okay, Philippe Eng in with a shot at the championship. He comes here on the back of that win in the Spa 24 Hours. He is third in the championship. He's 5 points down on Raffaele Marciello. There is 1 point to be grabbed even before the race tomorrow for pole position. But at the moment, he's down in 24th position in that 99 BMW. So it's not looking likely. But as Jelmer Burnman pointed out, this is the conditions now. But we've got very different track conditions tomorrow morning.
Currently in 11th place, number 7 Bentley, Jules Gounon behind the wheel. That's up to 11th, and Nicky Thiem in the 76 Aston Martin up to 14th. Now, whether those times are the times accredited to the two drivers, but I suspect it was Gounon and Nicky Thiem that have made those improvements.
Because that was the last time around. They were the only improvements in the top 20. So coming on better for Bentley in 11th place, and also for Aston Martin up into 14th place. Cars still coming in and out of the pit lane. The sun getting a little lower, and the sky's been a warm, slightly humid day here. But we've got yellow out on the circuit, sector 2, which presumably is that downhill stretch. No,
that's for the Nissan. I suspect the Nissan is
just
sector
into sector 2.
I think it just kisses into sector 2.
Car 23, yeah, stops at turn 6. It says left-hand side of the track, full course yellow. Just gone to full course yellow for the second time in this session. Don't forget the morning session of 90 minutes had 2 red flag periods, so we haven't got to that degree of seriousness, but it certainly cost them track time, and anybody trying to go for a quick time now, obviously that is abated. They have to go behind the full course yellow.
Earlier today.
But let's go down and here in the pits in this quiet moment under full course yellow with the man who could win 3 titles this weekend, Raffaele Marciello.
Raffaele, now you're leading the Endurance Championship by only 1 point. I've just spoken to Jelmer and he's feeling pretty confident in his Mercedes. How are you feeling in yours?
Pretty confident also. I mean, it's only about who will finish in front between us, but we have to take care also to BMW. I mean, I think we did all the year pretty strong, so I think we can also take the championship. I mean, it's quite difficult. It's 3 hour race. There is not so much degradation now with the new tarmac, so we will see tomorrow.
How much would it mean to you to win a triple?
I mean, for sure, it means a lot. It means we worked hard all the year. We've been consistent. We didn't do any silly mistake, but it's still long. There is also Laguna with the Intercontinental, so maybe I can do the poker, but we will see.
As you said, it's a 3 hour race. Let's talk about the track a little bit. The surfacing on the track is really interesting about tyre degradation. The Mercedes, as we know, being the engine in the front, is very good at tyre degradation, so this seems to be a good advantage for you, does it?
Maybe it was better last year, tarmac, because it was more degrading than this year, but it's the same for everyone. I mean, it would be important equally to start in front because it's difficult to pass, but as I said, it's the same for everyone. We have to push and we'll see tomorrow.
You've got to win this, Rafi.
I hope.
Good luck.
One little flaw in his explanation there. He completely discounted the number 1 Audi crew. They're down in 4th place overall. Chris Mies, Alex Riberas and Dries van Tor. they are the outside shot. I think that was just a momentary thing. He will not be discounted.
No.
Just forgot to mention them.
Well, I think also in the context of tyre degradation and tyre wear and everything around tyre performance here in Barcelona, it would probably be a good generalisation to say that the Mercedes, the configuration of the Mercedes-AMG GT3 is a generally slightly easier one on its tyres than the Audi is. But, you know, we don't know what the conditions will be. We are anticipating a similar kind of weather pattern as we've got here this afternoon, maybe a degree or two cooler. But the general consensus would be that the Mercedes is the slightly easier of the two overrun, and particularly here at a circuit like Barcelona. But I can guarantee you one thing about Raffaele Marcello, he's still going to be eating the pasta. Absolutely. Win, lose or draw, he'll still eat the pasta.
You know, actually, he's always very laid back and almost doesn't seem passionate at all when he's doing an interview. But when he gets in the car, you know, he's on the verge of greatness in the Blancpain GT Series if he can take a historic treble. But actually, you often feel, in his case, he'd rather just have a simply good race and go out and win a race. That is what he goes racing for.
I think the
titles are the bonus.
Maybe it hasn't really fully sunk in yet what he could go on and achieve and be the first person in the history of these championship sprints and endurance under the Blancpain banner. I mean, the meaning of it will probably sink in a little bit later. Should he be the person that does lift the crowd? He's thinking more about really, my thoughts are about the car, my teammates. How can we get the balance that works best for all three of us? We all have to make small compromises. Danny Juncadella behind the wheel of the car is backed out of it now, you can see, even though the track has gone back to green flag running. So it is a team effort, and while you might say Raffaele Marcello in the car is the most exuberant of the three cars in the 88, he is only one of three drivers, and what driver will start, what driver will be second, and what driver will be third, we will not know really until Sunday.
Okay, we just heard that Christopher Mies was ignored by Raffaele Marcello. Let's hear from him with Dakota.
Christopher, now you're fourth in the Endurance Championship. You're also competing for the overall. Raffaello, I've just spoken to him. He's very happy in his Mercedes. Your Audi's a little bit of a different story. Tell us about this story.
Well, we are happy in the Audi as well. So obviously we're running P2 right now, having finished P1 in FP1. Car's running well. We just do our program, and so far it's looking very good.
Do you think this track suits the Audi?
Pardon?
Do you think the track suits the Audi?
Yeah, I think the new asphalt really helps us. You know, last year was the old asphalt, so it was really demanding for the Pirelli tires. Now it's a little bit better. Obviously we have to see how it's going to be in the race.
You had a bit of an unlucky weekend, the previous race. Are you feeling a bit luckier this weekend?
Well, we need a bit of luck now. Yeah, we finished second in the championship in sprint, and yeah, we were fighting for it till the last minute. Obviously we hope for more, so this could be our revenge.
Good luck.
I mean, what Audi will try to do, as Christopher Mies points out, that last year the surface was a little bit more severe on the tyre. This year, not quite so the case. So they've got to find a way of adjusting the car to enable the car to have out-and-out speed, but at the same time not do it to the detriment of the tyre, to, in other words, run through the tyre's optimum performance peak curve too quickly. And look, WRT Audi are well honed and skilled in the art of adjusting and balancing. They know that car inside out. They can build it blind 24 hours a day.
Looking at the onboard action of Danny Juncadella, who's one of the two teammates for Raffaele Marcello, and certainly brought in not just for his speed, but his speed at his home circuit. One driver who should be driving in his home circuit, but is not, is Lucas Ordóñez, who broke a shoulder in a bicycle training accident. How cruel ahead of his race. And the stand-in for him, what a stand-in, Jan Martin, reported back over in Japan. He was the driver on board that number 23 Nissan when it had to be towed off the circuit.
Another nice little story regarding the Nissan team is that a small celebration took place in the team's garage, wherein it's 10 years since the PlayStation and Nissan partnership began. And in that, you've had Lucas Ordóñez is probably the best known, maybe Jan Malmro as well, of drivers who've come through from gaming in effect, and then being taken through from being a living room gamer to being a professional racing driver. And it has been a phenomenal success.
Yeah, and Lucas Ordóñez always thanks his lucky stars, but he took a gamble. He took a year out of university and ignored all of his family's treatises and just sat on the machine and made it work for him. and he's got his professional career out the back of it.
Treatises, nice word, nice description. But was that one of those situations where mother and father say, don't be silly, darling, you'll never be a successful racing driver. Make a career, be a doctor, a lawyer, an Indian chief, or whatever you want to be, but be a professional. And he followed his dream, and thankfully he did.
John, I ignored all advice. I was looking for a career in motorsport. I work in motorsport. Is it a career? But I smile because it's got me around the world. And getting to work in championships like this has been truly fantastic. Really, really enjoyable. Maxime Martin, though, really trying to push on. He's tucked behind one of the Porsches, the Herbert Motorsport car. This is the one that had a little spin out of turn 16. No damage done. But right now he's using it for a slipstream under our commentary position. But at the moment it's not coming just quite right for the Aston Martins. In fact, that's a new improvement. It's an improvement. That's improved his position, but only just. Just a whisker under a second down on the ultimate pace. But Aston Martin 62 in particular playing catch-up. Only did one lap this morning, didn't complete it.
Looking further through the field, the Maro Engel number 4 Mercedes has just recorded its personal fastest first sector time on this current lap. So this is going to be that car's see how many laps it has done. Is showing it would be its 6th lap.
Yeah, well, she's improved in the second sector as well.
So that could see an improvement for the number 4. Remember, we had that interview with Jelmer Berman, and the number 4 car with Lucas Stolz as part of that driver lineup is going to be a serious threat in terms of the Mercedes-Benz squad, the AMG GT3 Mercedes. So wait to see what Maro Engel will do when he comes up to completion of what will be his 6th lap.
Right now beneath our commentary position. Does he go? Well, he goes
up to 4th.
Up to 4th, yeah, there we go. So, wow, really is looking very good for Mercedes. Remember, Mercedes first, Audi second, Mercedes 3rd, 4th and 5th. So it pushes the Juncadella car, the 88 car that's ahead of it on points.
Yeah, I mean, all you can say is with 37 minutes and 36 seconds of the session to go, car 4 has improved ahead of the car that's the championship leader, the car that one might assume would be the car that would take the crown, but there's an awful lot of motor racing to take. Well, still 37 minutes of this session to go. They've got the 3 qualifying sessions that will take place on Sunday morning, and then we've got that wait until 3 o'clock Sunday afternoon before this 3-hour event gets underway. Jelmer Berman said it's a long race. Well, it is a 3-hour race, but it's only 1 hour for each of these drivers, and it's only a sprint, one sprint round.
Right, the Nissan 23 in the garage, brought back. Jan Mardenborough had been at the wheel. They've checked the data, and they're scratching their heads. They can find absolutely nothing wrong, but the car, as we saw, came to a halt on the downhill exit between turn 5 and turn 6. So, head scratching and hopefully things being worked out, but another improvement from Maro Engel in the first sector. He moved up to 4th last time around. He's improved in the second sector as well. Has he got traffic? No, I think he's okay.
He's clear. He's got a clear run, so he's got an opportunity to further improve. Now, he's only 17 thousandths of a second behind the 44 Stracker Racing Mercedes, and that is certainly going to be an attainable option. Comes out of turn 15 into 16. Gets it lined up, keeps the car clean on the exit, doesn't overrun. Maro Engel, will he make an improvement from 4th? There's a 2nd overall. And now it's Mercedes 43 leading, Mercedes number 4 in 2nd place, and 88 still in 5th of the Mercedes.
And he's only 0.069 of a second down on the ultimate pace, so that's not 1 lap, that's 2 laps in a row that are good. The number 7 Bentley trying to fight back. Jordan Pepper, this was a car that stopped at the start of the first session, lost track time, but Bentley, one of 8 manufacturers not yet to win a round of the championship this year. We've had victories for Audi, for Aston Martin, for Lexus and BMW, but that means Porsche, Mercedes, McLaren, Jaguar, Bentley, Lamborghini, Nissan and Ferrari also looking for that first win. And I'm starting to sense that the Bentley is coming on quite sweetly this weekend here at Circuit de Catalunya.
Love to see it, because this is a very, very sophisticated racing car. And it's a great team. M Sport, Malcolm Wilson, based up in Cumbria. And they've worked marvels with this car, with the initial, the original Bentley Continental GT3R, and now this 2nd series, which is, as we've pointed out, has been pointed out, is 100% race car.
Yes, it is. If you want to have a little look at a video, talk through the car, one of the local drivers, Andy Soucek, go to the Blancpain GT website and take a look. Scroll down towards the bottom of the home page and he'll talk you through, and you'll realise how these teams, these are building, as John said, proper racing cars, and all the tricks of the trade that they employ to make them competitive. But the fact we have 12 manufacturers coming out to play here is the essence of why GT3 racing is so good. But let Andy talk you through.
And remember, M-Sport, their core business is rallying, international rallying. And part of that is, of course, suspension compliance and the ability to jump on whatever rally cars do. And a lot of that knowledge has been transferred into the suspension and the compliance within the Bentley suspension to enable it, as you see here, running curves in turn one, over the curve in turn two, to do so without destabilizing the car.
Just want to highlight the following lap from Maro Engel. He was just about 0.013 of a second slower than the lap that put him second. 2 really quick laps in a row. Well, 3, because he did one that moved him up to 4th, then to 2nd.
And what was interesting was in that 3rd sector, on that last lap, he actually had the fastest sector time of all. So whatever they're doing in that number 4 car, they're getting tyre performance over 3 laps at that very high average, which is, I think, something that everybody in the pit lane might be scratching their head. So what have they done? Why are they managing to get that level of performance over a 3-lap run?
Absolutely so, because the only other car that's actually improved its even as much as a sector time in the top 40 is Hubert Hout, who's out in the 6th Black Falcon car at the moment. The Mercedes, that is down though in 31st position, may move up a place or 2. Lamborghini Huracan 82, that's been driven very well by Phil Keen. It's now in the hands of Rolf Eichen. It's 6th fastest. Phil Keen had it 5th, but of course we've had the rise of the number 4 Mercedes up into 2nd place overall. Fans watching from the grandstand to see who can do what, but right now those tyres are just starting to go away, and it's all about just finding some balance.
Another great drive, I have to point out, was back at Nürburgring 2 weeks ago. Hubert Hout, I think it was the number 4 Mercedes at that time, now in the number 6. And he's just done personal best in that 1st sector. Car albeit all the way down in 31st overall, but still, I remember saying to him, but where does this drive rate in all the drives of your life? He thought this is one of my finest, and he was delighted. I mean, he did a stunning job.
They really had. We sort of all thought before the race, oh well, let's look out for the pace of his teammate Lucas Stoltz, who's just going better and better. But Hubert Hout, who really has been around for a while, he raced in the DTM back in the early 90s, went to race Indy Lights, Porsche Super Cup, travelled the world racing, but in his twilight years, he seems to be reinvigorated.
Bruce, what age is he? You say twilight years, what age?
28, 29,
well,
something
there you
like
are.
that.
There you are, you're old before your time.
No, he's coming up for 1950. Let's go on board again and take a look down into the first corner.
And difficult to see the apex because the screen, there's a bit of tape on the screen there just to blanks out just the point where the car's entering, and now into turn 3, Richard Abra in the 77. So pretty much the standard line on the exit. You can run out to the edge, you can run over that sort of painted AstroTurf. Then again, the early entry into turn 4, make your apex, pulls a slightly tighter line mid to exit on the corner, then releases the car, then down the hill. Can you get the apex in turn 5? Pretty good effort there. Gets the nose of the car in, lets the car run out to the exit of the corner, clean exit, then up through turn 6, back down onto the brakes, on down a gear into turn 7, hard on the throttle, driving up through clean. It's a good lap so far from Richard Abra. Now up into turn 9, feathering the throttle but carrying a good level of speed. So good run so far for the 77.
Yeah, he's got a big responsibility this weekend. He's sharing with Adrian Amstutz and Leo Mashitsky, and that duo is leading the AM Endurance Drivers Series ahead of the McLaren trio of Goodwin, Harris and West. Abra further down the points table in 6th overall. He's been moved across to join them. And for Barwell Motorsport, this is a very serious weekend indeed, looking to pick up that title and the team's amateur group title as well. So pushing on, and as you say, being nice and clean, going around behind the tail end of one of the, I think it's one of the Acura ASP Mercedes, or is it in fact the Ram Racing one? It could be the red metallic one.
It's saying it's the red metallic one we're looking at.
Oh,
so coming across start finish line, and still waiting for 77 to appear into the top 40. Don't notice it. So there are currently no AM pairings that are into the top 40. The leading Pro-Am is the 49, which is up into ninth position. So that's the Ram Racing Mercedes, Ramon Voss and Tom Onslow Cole. Look at the rubber that's getting laid in the circuit. That's down at the very tight chicane before you go into the final turn 16. Frustrating. It's slow. There's the 63. I think it is just ahead of it. Haven't seen much on the 63. Mirko Bortolotti currently 17th fastest overall, 19th Rothenheim. Is that the 19th?
No, that's the 19 car, which is
Ezekiel
Paris Compact. So we talked about one Grasser Racing Lamborghini, talked about another, and it was the third one that went off the circuit.
And that looks to me to be a mechanical issue.
Wave yellow flags.
So down to turn 1. So the car's just left the pit lane, I'm assuming, and has just pulled off. So whatever has happened may be the consequence of the purpose of making the pit stop in the first place.
Quite possibly so. Still Mercedes looking very strong. Their hegemony at the top of the field being split in third place by that number 1 Audi that's very much in the championship hunt. The championship leading car is in 5th place overall. That's the 88 Mercedes. But right now, not looking like a Lamborghini sort of day. Let's take a look. This is on the exit of, well, exiting turn 15. Oh, bash goes the marker, quite high in the sky there. So that was a late dive out of the chicane into pit entry. When that come to that, it didn't land on the number 19 Lamborghini, did it? But anyhow, punctured rear tyre.
Oh yes, and that is well and true. That's the reason why the Lamborghini pulled off. So that was Ezekiel Paris Compact. So that's strange. I mean, he just left. I'm assuming he just left the pit lane, but maybe in fact he'd been completing a lap and going on to another one when that tyre got cut down. We don't know the reason why. So we look at Nick Thomason and the Ferrari getting a little bit of pressure coming down into turn 10. The old lights big flash. You're allowed to do it 3 times in effect on an AM car, and pass is made cleanly with a little bit of the benefit of headlight flashing.
So let's hear, stuff is happening down in the pits, but let's hear from Leo Mashinsky. We've just been on board the leading AM car 77, and we've seen Richard Amber driving. Let's hear from Leo Mashinsky speaking in the pits.
Leo, now you're leading in the AM class. You've got a really good battle this weekend against Chris Harris, Chris Goodwin and Alex West. Are you going to be able to crush them?
Crush them probably not. They've got the pace. But I think we've got good chance. We've got good healthy lead in the points. They have to run a perfect race. From what we can see in free practice 1 and pre-qualifying, there's a few other cars in our class that are quite competitive. So yeah, it's up for grabs for everyone. So I think they're a good lineup, and we're looking forward to the weekend. So I think the race is going to be interesting for both teams, for us and for them. I think we keep it clean, and we'll see who comes out on top at the end.
Now, you definitely showed your endurance skills in Spa with such a good race. Are you going to be able to do the same here?
Well, if the motorsport gods look on us as they did at Spa, I think we will, yeah.
Great, good luck.
Measured optimism there from Leo Mashinsky, and the thumb up. There's certainly the 77 Lamborghini doing what it needs to do, not among our top 40 cars, John, but it's focusing on its own battle. That battle is in the AM class. That is what they need to focus on, not get distracted by others competing for other parts of the championship.
Correct. But when you go into a 3-hour event with 53 cars in the field, it isn't going to be as it is now, driving around with only one other car ahead of you and a car, what, 5-6 seconds behind you. You're going to be in a melee of traffic, and it is going to be a nightmare to deal with, and that's where the skill of the racers will come through.
John, let's give a bit of love to the Emile Frey G3 Jaguar racing for the final time in the Blancpain Series. Michael Grenier, Canadian driver, on board at the moment. So it's down in 27th position, it's pretty much mid-grid. Will it be a fond finale? It's quite a steep mountain to climb. At the moment it's time 1.5 seconds down on the ultimate pace.
I mean, this is not qualifying. We don't know where this car may not end up after qualifying, but obviously for many people in the pit lane, not least of all Emile Frey Racing, it's going to be a poignant and a sad moment, because they've put their heart and soul into developing this car over a 5-year period. They've now moved on to another manufacturer, Lexus, and that's their future. So this car effectively running out of homologation, but it's been a wonderful, I mean, to have a Jaguar racing amongst the cream, or the creme de la creme of GT3 racing anywhere in the world, let alone here in the Blancpain Endurance or Sprint Championships, it's certainly for us, and I think for me particularly. I was a part of the brand way back in the 80s when we had Group C races, and some of the great events of that period. So I feel, you know, it's quite a detached now relationship, but nonetheless a very, very minor part of a great brand.
Yeah, it's one that a lot of people are very passionate about. Indeed, many people are passionate about a lot of the brands here competing. 12 manufacturers of car here at the Circuit of Barcelona. There's going to be no improvement there for Miko Grenier, but he's happy sort of consistently there or thereabout in the mid-20s.
Alex Brundle has improved up to 10th place, 23 Nissan. So that car has found a little bit of pace. Did it on the 18th lap, or it's on its 19th lap. I think might have done it on the 18th lap anyway. So Alex Buncombe.
Yes, Buncombe. You said Brundle, who's probably watching from Norfolk, but Buncombe on board, one of the two Buncombe brothers here this weekend.
In fact, Dad is also probably watching, because he bunked off from his Grand Prix duties this weekend. He's not in Russia.
He thought he got away with that until you just mentioned that. But anyhow, so there we have up into 10th place for Alex Buncombe. He's 3/4 of a second down. Now the Lexus is really starting to fly. Good to have Stefan Ortelli back on board this weekend. But Norbert Siedler is the man entrusted with the 114 at the moment. Needs to get a foot down because he is 1.7 seconds down on the ultimate pace. Sister car lost track time this morning, and Norbert's down in 32nd position.
Do you think if we sent Dakota down to the pits and told Norbert to get his finger right, he's not doing enough, 32nd isn't good enough, do you think that would have any effect?
A lot of the drivers need this level of encouragement, John.
I shall take your word for that as we watch the Lexus and a car that won, I mean, somewhat fortuitously, because the battle with the Bentley and the Lexus in the closing seconds of the 6 hours of Paul Ricard was nail-biting stuff, and it was, I mean, emotional beyond belief for the Bentley team. But nevertheless, 114 looking to make some improvement. 32nd, it can only really go forward, can't it?
Yeah, the improvement hasn't come in the first part of that. Traffic will then come into play as well. But there's this incredible thing. The longer the race, with every further hour, the more emotion you have draining out of you, whatever role you've had in the place come the end.
Back end of the 114 Lexus just getting out of line, coming through turn 11, through into 12, and this 13, 14, 15, this complex, which is, it breaks the flow of the circuit, and it's amazing just how much the flow gets broken. So coming on the pit straight, so will there be any improvement? Comes across the line still, I think, yes, stays in 147.9 in 32nd place.
Well, we're looking at the Garage 59 McLaren. One of the drivers is in the pit lane. Let's hear from Alexander West with Dakota.
Alex, now we're all really excited to watch you and Leo battle it out for the AM class.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a little bit out of our hand. We're going to try the best to win the race. That's the only thing we can do. I think we stand a reasonably good chance if we can stay out of trouble as usual. And then we're going to need some luck with the 77 car, because all they need to do really is to have a half decent race. And
are you going to get back in the car today?
No, I got a set of new tires this morning, or this afternoon. So I've done my stuff for the day. Now it's Chris Harris and maybe Goodwin trying to do some final setup changes, but otherwise we're done.
And have you been enjoying the whole season of racing at Blancpain GT, such an amazing series?
I think it's been really, really good. We had a difficult last season, the couple of races we did. This year has been really good, really good. Very happy with the win at Silverstone. Paul Ricard was really, really good. Spa is Spa. It's a fantastic track. I mean, I really think that Blancpain runs the best GT racing. Certainly better than all the other European competitors. So it's a really cool event.
Good luck this weekend.
So that was Alex West sharing with Chris Goodwin, who's on board at the moment, and Chris Harris of BBC Top Gear fame. And we need McLaren still in the championship. Of course, we had greater numbers in a couple of years ago, and it's somewhat dwindled, but the 650S continues to look very, very tidy.
Yes, Chris Harris, of course, familiar face on the Top Gear team, but there's another competitor here who I understand is also part of the Top Gear team, who races under the name The Stig. He's a competitor here this weekend. I understand.
You understand. You're going to tell us all by close of play Sunday.
I don't want to spoil a TV
course.
series, but I understand The Stig is actually racing here this weekend.
Well, we've got just under... we've got about 160 drivers there, John, so we're going to have to start whittling them down, but let's concentrate on what's on the track. 20 minutes remaining, and...
But let's suggest he's not French, German, Italian. The 42 has gone into the gravel, and that might be, and that Nicola Ventus the owner of this Straka Racing team, again up at turn 11. We saw the 90 go straight off there. We saw another Mercedes or another car go in backwards. Watch what happens to Nicola Venter.
So he loses at 11.
10 out through 10.
Yeah, exactly the same as one of the cars in the Blancpain GT Sports Club, the GDL Racing Mercedes. No damage.
Red flag.
Red flag, surprise, surprise. Well, it's not surprise, surprise, because it's in at the gravel and in quite deeply at the front end. So nobody was actually improving their lap times at around that moment with 20 minutes remaining, but it was all about track time, and now they're going to have to be slightly delayed. So Nicola Ventis off into the gravel, but it's been a very good meeting so far for the Mercedes. And one of the sister cars, number 43 from Straka Racing, is fastest of all, top of the charts. It's the car shared by Alvaro Brent, Maxi Goertz and Maxi Book that's the top of the charts at the moment.
You can see just how much the car has sunk into the gravel. Everybody now crawling around, making their way back into the pit lane.
33rd position at the time for Nicola Ventis, but at this point very, very few improvements. The odd sector improvement, but no lap time improvements. The Aston Martins coming in, I mean, nose to tail, 15th and 16th, or 16th and 15th in the running order.
Most everybody now running with just under 20 minutes, 18 minutes or so of the session remaining, will not be looking to throw a brand new set of Pirelli slicks at the car. They're just running on the set of tyres, and they're going through maybe a few more driver changes, pit stop changes, detail things just to get every aspect, because while qualifying tomorrow morning is early, track and ambient temperatures will be much different. We will be now coming up to the finish of this race. In effect, the race will be finishing within 5 minutes of now, and you never know. A race is never over until the checkered flag is taken.
Exactly so. So therefore, just stressing how important it is for track time. The Aston Martins have been gaining ground, but they're not yet in the top 10. One of those cars lost almost the entire 90-minute session this morning, so they've been playing catch-up, but they seem to be they're lapping at about 1 second off the ultimate pace, or they have been, but it's a question of really how they feel with the balance and shape of that car going into tomorrow's session. Good work from the extrication crew there, and hopefully that won't deposit too much gravel on the circuit as it goes through the remaining 4 corners before it arrives at pit entry.
Yeah, the car went in backwards, so the opportunity for gravel to get into the car, not such a major problem.
Right, well, it's time to head back down to the pit lane to Sansalot Racing, and Christopher Haase has been driving the number 25 entry, sharing with Ricardo Fellow and Simon Gachet. Down to Christopher Haase.
Chris, now you're also in contention for the Endurance Championship. It's going to be a really tough weekend. Who will you be mainly looking out for?
Well, first of all, we try to have a really good race weekend. I think we have the potential actually to go for a victory. But as we all know, the Blancpain GT Endurance is just a very hard competition. So at the end, you need the luck on your side. And hopefully, maybe we can get our first victory here, which would get our chance of the championship, maybe.
Is the car running well so far?
Yeah, actually pretty well, I have to say.
And when are you getting back in the car?
Just at the end of the session.
Look, good luck.
Well, nice that Christopher Haase was very optimistic, had a good result 2 weekends ago at the Nürburgring. He gave us his impression of a bit of dad dancing, I thought it wasn't very impressive at all. But they were going on to some event in the evening. But that's the right attitude. He's positive. He's thinking that we have a chance to win this race. Well, there's somebody who's going to go a bit of dad dancing. Christopher Haase, where did you get those boots from?
Because of the dad dancing. If you look at the timing charts, his car is down in 20th position. But here's a little secret. It did actually set the fastest time of this session. Had that taken away, and presumably another one for exceeding track limits. That's why he's down there. So there is very good reason that Christopher Haase is feeling confident, but he needs to be confident because he and his teammate Winkelhoff are starting to their 13th on the table.
How many people could say, well, if we'd abused track limits, we could have been figures as well?
I'm talking about the speed is in the car, John. I know you want to bang the rule book again.
No, not bang the rule book. The reason that they had that time was because they did abuse track limits. That's what I'm trying to get to. And if anybody else had done the same thing, they may well also have found that additional time.
Yeah, but we've only seen a handful of laps removed from any cars in this session, and 2 of them being removed from the 25 car. The rest have stayed within the bounds, and yes, how much was gained within that, but clearly the pace is there or thereabouts, much better than 20th position.
Absolutely. I think the thing that's most important about that particular, the 25 Audi, they've got a stellar lineup. Marcus Winkelhoff, Simon Gascher, who did a brilliant job at Nürburgring 2 weeks ago. Christopher Haase, I mean, a top draw driver lineup.
Winkelhock's in the sister car. They've got Ricardo Feller this weekend. Quite a few of the driver crews this weekend have been shuffled around in the interest of keeping things interesting.
So whatever they've got has got a very strong driver lineup, and certainly Christopher Haase as one of those drivers, and Simon Gascher, who I pointed out did an excellent job at Nürburgring. A very strong partnership.
So, cars getting up to speed all over again. Under quarter of an hour remaining in this, the pre-qualifying session. We go to the quickfire qualifying tomorrow after 9 o'clock. We've had 90 minutes of, well, we were supposed to have 90 minutes first thing this morning, but 2 red flag periods curtailed the track time. This afternoon's been slightly curtailed as well, but 53 cars on a 16-turn circuit make it very busy indeed. Now, Phil Keane is out there going for a bit of a charge on the circuit. It's about finding a little bit of a space down the hill. It is a downhill descent as opposed to an uphill descent. The 82
an uphill descent?
Yeah, we don't have those anymore. They've been ruled out. 6th fastest at the moment, the 82 Lamborghini, as it went down the drop to turn 1, continues on its way. But it's about making a bit of space in the track, but really it's not about the ultimate pace right now. It's about getting all the drivers confident with the car. But hearing from Christopher Haase with just over a quarter of an hour remaining, he was still hoping to go back out again, so still driver rotations in these 53 car combinations.
66 already just going through camera. Kelvin van der Linde, the short-horsed brothers in that car. Again, the 66 car all season has been one that I've been impressed with. I've banged on about Kelvin van der Linde doing outstanding jobs, as have the 2 short-horsed brothers. So that's another car currently not in the top 20.
Not even in the top 40. No. Sorry, in 34th position.
Well, that is uncharacteristic, and I will almost promise you that after qualifying that car will be within the top 20. I think I'm not being over optimistic.
No, I don't see why you are. Certainly on seasonal form. Someone's just kicked up the dust.
That's gone off.
It's in front of the number 6 Mercedes.
Somebody kicked up the dust on the exit of turn 8. Don't know who it was. Might have been that Mercedes just coming slowly down into turn 10. No car off track, but certainly all around the racetrack, the verges, the edges are all bone dry. And it's been warm here this weekend.
Well, it's interesting we're looking at the Silver Cup, because it was the number 90 Mercedes that made that little slip up, and that was the Acura ASP car that won the Silver Cup. Jack Manchester had another moment, 17th fastest, but he was the one that kicked up the dirt in front of the 6 Mercedes. At the moment, 6 Mercedes in the hands of Abdulaziz Al Faisal, showing that with Hubert Howes and Gabriele Piana. 31st position for him at the moment, but that won't have helped his concentration. A puff of dust in his face.
Oh, purple. Jake Dennis, currently 16th, 76 Aston Martin. Purple first sector, new tyres. Or the freshest tyres in their selection of choice.
Yeah, and don't forget it was the sister car that saved tyres this morning by not going out. The sister car is ahead, but Jake Dennis, the young British driver, down in 16th place. Very good opening sector. Coming up on traffic though, it looks like the Acura ASP, the SMP racing version of their Mercedes, up in front, red, white and blue. Yes, it is. Not holding them up right now, but you can hear the Aston Martin right.
Yeah, but Jake Dennis is going to slide down the inside. He's got more braking capacity with those fresh rubber. Runs slightly wide, needs to be careful not to let the Mercedes slip up the inside, cost him a little bit of time, but still a personal best time for the car on this run. So this ought to, assuming that, and has he backed out of it?
I think he has.
It's difficult to judge whether he has backed out of it or not. It looks to me like he certainly did, but he's had fastest overall sector 1, personal best sector 2. I mean, bailing out of it. And what's he going to do? Is he coming into the pit lane, or what's he doing?
No, I think he's coming down. He's made himself a bit of a gap. He's got the Garage 59 McLaren ahead of him as they go down the start for the straight.
So you can see he dropped off by maybe 2-3 seconds minimum in that last sector. But now he's got the McLaren directly ahead. So that will be. He's got one of the 2 road racing BMWs behind just to keep his attention focused. The question is, can he repeat in sector 1 what he did 1 lap ago, and that is get another purple sector, or at least get a green, which he needs to do. Well, he's going to get an opportunity to bring the Aston up into the top 10.
Yeah, he'll probably get a best sector for the first sector. No, he doesn't. He's not far off his ultimate pace, but he's going to be compromised in the second sector because he caught that McLaren very easily, and that is surely going to be blocking him over the top of the slope they go. And now bunching down behind it. This isn't exactly what he was looking for, but maybe it's about building sector. I'll take a good sector here and a good sector there to go into qualifying tomorrow morning. But
I think he's already compromised.
Yeah,
I think that the pace that he'd hoped for, you can he's backed out of it. Yes, you can see he's pulling over to the right-hand side of the track, and yet again traffic coming into play on a car that could have potentially put itself very comfortably indeed on this run with only just under 10 minutes of the session remaining, up into the top 10, even up into the top 6, maybe the top 5 or 4.
Stop now, John. You're overextending yourself. Here we have final 10 minutes, and he's finally got a car broken into the top 40. One of the Tempto Racing Audis, they seem to be keeping their powder very dry indeed. This is the car that Anders Fjordback's come back to this weekend. Kim de Stram and Jeffrey Schmidt. Schmidt's the driver on board at the moment. He's 2 seconds down on the ultimate pace, but what we can't see is the cars from 41st to 53rd. We're not switching to their timing screen, trying to see if anybody's improving, but it goes to prove you can improve. Charlie Eastwood running in the Silver Cup. He's been a front runner with that wonderful Aston Martin, the V12 Vantage, that has been such a stalwart of the championship, but fighting for the minor placings these days.
Charlie Eastwood, of course, from Belfast, Northern Ireland, well-known family from the province. Charlie, who was racing in Porsche Super Cup for a number of years, now moved over to the Blancpain Endurance Championship behind the wheel of an Aston Martin. Frequently family come and join him, and looking to see what they can do as the 22. This is the original Nissan GTR, not the Evo 2 version. So it again looking outside of the top 40.
It's started 49th position, if I can read the numbers on the screen correctly. Colin Noble, Scottish driver, on board this weekend with Ricardo Sanchez and Stuart Moore. Multinational lineup there, but not found the sweet spot as yet. Certainly that middle sector time, you need to be 40 seconds flat to be a really good representative in that middle sector. So in the final beatings, the final few minutes of this session, still the pit lane having pit corners, but I reckon we've got 45 plus cars out on the circuit, which means one thing: it means traffic, it means drivers getting a little bit in the way.
Now, just to go back to Jake Dennis, the 76 Aston Martin, he had that purple sector 3 laps now ago. He's gone into the first sector way off. He's just cruising around, looking for that clear bit of track, also giving his tyres a chance to recover from almost a shock with the pace that the Aston suddenly developed. So just giving himself that little bit of time, giving the tyres a chance to recover, and with what, just 7 minutes or so remaining, maybe one more last go.
Now, Tempto Racing seems to have really, they've just had their second car, number 55, break into the top 40 by setting its best lap. A few places further up, way down from where you'd normally expect to find it, is the sister car. That's starting to pick up its pace, the number 66 car, which is Peter Schottenhorst, Stein Schottenhorst and Kelvin van der Linde. Kelvin is in the championship mix, he's 5th overall. He is finally finding some space, but will he be blocked by traffic? The 44 Mercedes, 4th fastest, now in the hands of Oliver Rowland. That's not improving, but it's just setting consistently decent laps, a second away from its own pace, but Oliver Rowland putting them in. That's what the team wants.
Metronomic lap times, consistency, and the ability. One of the keys to any form of endurance racing is the ability to be consistent, to make your way through traffic with the minimum loss of lap time. If you get erratic laps, up, down, 3-4 seconds a lap difference, one lap to the next, you ain't going to make it as an endurance driver, and that's one of the principal skills that teams look for. Can you make your way through traffic seamlessly?
26 going increasingly well. Just to let you know that Kelvin van der Linde did improve, but only to 32nd position, so there won't be many smiles down at the Tempto Racing, but another Audi team, Sansalot Racing, has had a lot to smile about this year. Already wrapped up the Pro-Am title for the Sprint Cup, and Neil Stephenhart showing Mark Rostad and Marcus Winkelhock. At the moment, no improvement. We'll watch them go around the lap, just picking off. They're down with Rostan in the wheel, the oldest and in many ways not the quickest of the drivers in that crew, 36th position. So not all the Audis are at the sharp end of the field, John.
No, but this is only pre-qualifying. This is not the actual real deal. And when it comes to Sunday morning, track temperature, ambient temperature, all down, either just the high teens or the low 20s, not much more than that. It'll be a different dynamic for everybody. But of course, it's the amalgamation of the 3, or in some cases the 2 drivers, their time. So it's not just one single flying lap from the British driver, it's across the board. and of course that has changed significantly from previous versions of qualification. Much fairer, I think, because it means you've got the mean average of the 3 drivers, or in some cases the 2 drivers.
Incident still happening. The number 1 Audi, Maxi Goetz, is now in the car that's at the top of the chart. The number 1 Audi just went off and back on the track at turn 2 several minutes ago, but survives. So you don't want a late spill in this session. Teams don't really want to spend the night rebuilding the cars. Of course, they'll do all they can to make sure they're in tip-top shape for tomorrow morning's qualifying session, but a rebuild isn't really on their dream wish list of things to have for a Saturday here in Barcelona. Car 54 is being warned for exceeding track limits at where turn 9. So many have just been putting all 4 wheels over the curb at the top there. That is Alex Fontana, Adrian Zhao and Michael Grenier. They can't do that to the Jaguar in its final event.
No, and it's actually not a corner you want to abuse track limits, because it's pretty much, apart from I think turn 3, because it's a long curve, you're picking up speed. But in terms of a simple sort of single corner, turn 9 is pretty quick. And if you do get off track, you're going to go off, and if you make a mistake and actually hit something, you're going to hit it pretty hard.
You certainly are. Matt Griffin trying to pick up the pace. It's number 51 AF Corsa Ferrari. That had an off this morning, lost the entire first session effectively. But he is trying to, he's about the only driver in the top 40 who's actually making any improvements at this very late stage. As you can see, look at the clock at the top of the screen, 3.5 minutes remaining. Look at the traffic. It looks like the opening lap of a race. So many cars, literally nose to tail. As we get around the middle section of the lap, one of the cars cutting through is the number 4 Mercedes. That's Jelmer Berman on board. Second fastest that car is. Second in the championship. Needs all the track time it can get. Trying to find whatever bit of advantage it can have.
Star, absolute star. Alessandro Pierguidi in the number 11, a true driver car.
So he's second in the Pro-Am class at the moment. That's in the hands of Tom Onslow Cole in the Ram Racing Mercedes, but trying to make track space. You saw Pierguidi backing right off. He's tucked under the rear wing of, is that the Team Parker Racing?
I mean, that's what you're going to get. That's what you're going to get when this race gets underway. Coming into turn 10, 3 cars, almost 4 cars wide. And it will be a nightmare. It'll be a traffic jam. Only matching that coming out of Barcelona last night on the A20.
Yeah, so the Kessler Racing Ferrari backed right out of it. His lap time will be down by about 10 seconds, but it may mean he can go on to what will be his final or penultimate lap with a relatively clear area of track to aim at. Getting down low in one of the camera cars, and you can just see how the sun is getting right into the driver's faces as they turn up through into the long right-hander at turn 3, and then finally they're looking away from the sun and have a little bit of a rest.
Albert Costa, and one of a number of Spanish drivers here, one down of course because in the Nissan, Lucas Ordóñez did not make it, injured his shoulder on a cycling exercise program, so carrying it in a sling. Fortunately, of course, Barcelona, the home of many of the MotoGP competitors, and great medical facilities within Barcelona to handle orthopedic injuries. So Lucas Ordóñez has been and had the consultation. Nothing they were able to do in the short term to enable him to take part here this weekend. So he's one of the walking wounded and not happy about it at all.
No, certainly not. A few little improvements. Matt Griffin is the Irish on the way forward. Matt Griffin up to 35th position, first time in the top 40. Andrew Watson from north of the border, your part of the world, Watty, up into 40th place. He's in the other Garage 59 entry, shared with Cohn Ledegar and Ben Barnicoat. Expect more from them. It's coming late in the session, but they really need to find their form. The Lexus still not in the overall hunt, still riding around tail end of the lap. Weather conditions look fantastic, track conditions look really good. The drivers have been talking. Here's turn 16 coming onto the start for this straight about how much better the track is now that it's been resurfaced since last year. And that time for the Lexus leaves the number 14 car down in 38th position, just under 2 seconds off the ultimate pace.
Yes, I mean that lap time actually is more representative of a lap time that you'll be achieving at the end of your 1 hour stint, when you know the tyre degradation has begun to take its effect. So for many teams this will be in effect a replication of what they're going to see. But of course, 24 hours on from now, the race is over. The podium will be champagne spraying. They'll be championed in Blancpain Endurance to be the overall champion as well. Will it be this driver-car combination? as the Nissan runs behind turn 2, overran into turn 1, so he comes back onto track. Vincent Vautier behind the wheel of the 88, but it's Raffaele Marcello is the one of the 3 drivers in this car that could do something that's never been achieved before. Checkered flag is out.
It's worth pointing out Tristan Vautier hasn't done all of the races. That's why he's only 8th in the championship. But as teammate to Raffaele Marcello, who's first, he has a massively important role, along with Danny Juncadella, to see if they can help their tall Italian teammate Raffaele Marcello get or stay at the top of the table. We came here with 12 of the 14 titles still to be settled. That's the one spread between the Endurance Cup and the overall Blancpain GT Series. It's not just the top of the classes we're looking at. We're looking at the Pro-Ams, we're looking at the Silvers, and we're looking at the Ams. We're looking at the Drivers and the Teams Championship. So it's a mathematician's nightmare tomorrow trying to keep on top of all of this, but the one who's probably got the easiest task. Oh dear, we've had this car just miss the barriers in the gravel, running through the gravel at turn 16, and now the 77 car, same driver, Jens Lieberhauser, on his in-lap.
I was going to say, was that an in-lap, or had he yet to take the checkered flag?
No, he's taken the checkered flag.
It may have been a bit of a collision between the Mercedes. Indeed, the Ferrari totally unaware that the 6 Mercedes coming down the inside. It was an optimistic pass in the first place by the number 6 Mercedes.
Yeah, that was Gabriele Piana, and he'd been wanting a bit of a move on because his Black Falcon Mercedes down in 31st position. But Gabriele's been getting in the wars recently.
He may want to get his wallet out. That could be seen to be an avoidable collision, because if you're going to make a pass down into a corner like turn 5, you've got to be alongside before you actually make your entry into the corner.
Yeah, almost even more so when the cars are on their in-lap, having taken the checkered flag. The improvement on the final lap from Mathieu Vassivière, stayed in 16th place in that 76 Aston Martin, but good to the end. And that best lap for him, 0.965 of a second down the ultimate pace, which was set by the 43 Mercedes. There it is, Straka Racing at the top of the pile, but only just less than a tenth of a second from the best of the Black Falcon Mercedes. Vantor, Mees and Riberas waving the Audi flag in 3rd place overall. Then it's Mercedes and Mercedes in 4th and 5th, the 44 Straka Racing car and the championship leading 88 ACA ASP Mercedes. Then the best of the Lamborghinis with Phil Keane setting the pace is the 82 car. The Van der Linde, Leonard and Fried Special in 7th overall, showing Audi very much in the mix, but you have to look to the sort of the middle half of the field to find many of the other manufacturers going very well in the Pro-Am class as always. 2nd fastest in that class, Alessandro Pierguidi. You can see him in 14th place overall with Michel Bonachevsky, and 3rd in the Pro-Am class is the number 5 car. You can see Lendudis, Al Faisal and Rui Aguas, the driver, setting the pace in that fabulous mix of cars. 53 cars went out to play. They all set flying laps this time around, unlike this morning. But the most important thing of all is how the teams feel that they have their cars set up for tomorrow morning. The conditions will be cooler, the track will offer less grip, but it's going to be, when we get to qualifying, about making space for your drivers to get their flying laps in. Traffic is definitely going to be an issue, and that just adds even more pressure to all the challenges. And can I just run this back past you one more time? We have 15 driver crews that could still take the overall Blancpain Drivers' Championship for 2018. There is plenty to play for tomorrow, and you can be sure one little slip-up could be the real difference between success and failure. So there we get to the 53rd and slowest car among the grouping. It was a busy session, 90 minutes in great conditions here at the Circuit of Catalunya to the north of Barcelona, and it was a whole host of manufacturers, 12 of them, putting their cars out on the track, looking to see if they could get their cars to the top of the charts. And really, as the session started to wind its way through, it was clear it was between Mercedes and Audi at the top of the pile, with Bentley and Aston Martin trying their best to get in there, Lamborghini picking up their pace as well. But out on the track, it was very busy indeed. You see the 44 Straka Racing Mercedes cutting its way through. The 88 car, the one that has Raffaele Marcello as the championship leader, he was getting frustrated. They just needed the space on the track, that Lamborghini in their way. But the Bentleys really just trying to move their craft. 2 brand new Continentals for this weekend, and in behind you can see a bit of a moment for the 90 Mercedes. This was the save of the day. The 777 Ferrari going round and, believe it or not, did not hit the barriers there on the exit of turn 16. The sun started to drop into the face of the drivers, and look at the tail being kicked out. That's Danny Juncadella. He's sharing the car with Raffaele Marcello, the driver who may this weekend become the first ever triple winner or winner of all 3 titles in the Blancpain Series. He's got a lot to do tomorrow, though. Mercedes at the top, Nissan playing their game. But right now, that's all from me, Bruce Jones, and from John Watson. Do come and join us qualifying here at 9 o'clock tomorrow. It's going to be a firecracker.